Welcome to Decoding the Childcare Business. My name is Zuleika Hines, your host, and I have been given the unique opportunity of building 4 childcare centers and retiring from a business that I love in my 50s. But what I want to share with you today in this episode, how you can find the opportunity to locate a profitable location to open your own childcare business. Now, if you have been following me for the past few months, you have learned that I really had the intention of opening my own childcare business in Jersey City, New Jersey. And boy, I was so excited. But let me backtrack and explain to you why. But before I do that, I want to make sure that you like and subscribe this video. Your support and your enthusiasm of watching me week over week has really continued to keep me excited about sharing my personal experience, bringing together the different parts of me that I love and I enjoy. And today is one of those episodes. So please don't forget to like and subscribe right here so I can bring more of this to you. So let's go right in. In this episode, we're going to discuss the hitting childcare boom and why you might be missing it. In light of all the trauma that we've been listening to in the media, in light of all the people being laid off in the marketplace, what is not always spoken about is the boom, where the industries and the market is growing. Where are the cities where the childcare desert is not just because people don't have the financial means to be able to pay for childcare services? Sometimes the desert is because we're not capturing the exact location where the family needs is the strongest. And they're willing to pay to be able to enter into your program. So are you stuck? And how do you unstuck yourself and pursue your dream? That is what this episode is about. This episode is about finding the location and asking, are you willing to do what it takes to unstuck yourself and move to a place where the opportunities are waiting just for you to start your own childcare business? Right now, in this episode of the hidden childcare boom, where the market is actually growing and how to find it. Before we start, the information provided in this presentation is for educational and informational purpose only. It does not constitute legal, financial, and professional advice. Please consult with a licensed attorney, financial planner, or certified professional regarding your specific business situation. An investment in knowledge pays the best interest. Before we dive in, I want to share with you a personal story. When I was working at American Express, I was developing this business idea of opening up my own childcare center. I was really committed in finding a location that was in downtown Jersey City. And why downtown Jersey City? At the time, Jersey City was burgeoning. It was a city that was coming alive out of the ashes of 9/11. A lot of the businesses relocated their offices in Jersey City. The place was ready for them. They had a strong commercial space available to rent. There were developers ready to build, and the place was already in motion to be able to absorb the growth that was in front of them. They had plans, they had building sites, they had open space. There were developers already in the area, seeing the opportunity of having a location that overlooked Manhattan. Imagine being across the Hudson River, having the beautiful views of the financial center, the stock exchange, all the way up to Midtown where you see the Empire State Building, the Chrysler Building. The views were spectacular. Why wouldn't you want to build in Jersey City? And that's where I wanted to be. So after 9/11, being relocated to downtown Jersey City, I took every lunch hour that I had walking up and down the streets of Jersey City, looking for opportunities, looking at laundromats, see where the families were, where the doggy parks were. Why doggy parks? Many couples start with a pet, and from the pet, they go to getting engaged, and from getting engaged, they get married and have children. Yes, is unreal. It's a different way of market research, but it was a market research that paid dividends for me. So Jersey City was the place I wanted to be because it was energetic and I wanted that energy. But as I moved through Jersey City, I found spaces where the realtor did not want a childcare center, did not see my vision. And then there were buildings that were in the breaking ground level. The building were going to be 20 floors, 25 floors, but it still wasn't built. And for me to make that commitment meant that I would have to postpone my dream of opening a childcare center for 3 or 4 more years. And I really didn't want to wait that long. So what happened? One day, I took the wrong ferry. It's from Long Island, folks. That was like an island to hit another island, Manhattan, and from that island, go to another state, New Jersey. So I was crossing over 2 waterways just to get to work. But that particular day, I knew that Hoboken was next to Jersey City. So I took the first ferry to Hoboken, not thinking that a 1 square mile town was going to have 2 ferry stops. What happened? I ended up on the north side of Hoboken instead of the south side of Hoboken, and the south side of Hoboken was next to Jersey City. So now I had to figure out how to get myself from North Hoboken to downtown Jersey City for work. And that's when I discovered my first location. My first location is in a town that was already, in my eyes, matured. But the space where I landed still had a lot of open space. It even had a Maxwell House factory, an old coffee shop factory that was in about 15 acres, something like that. And in those 20 acres, you could still hear of stories of the Maxwell House while it was still functioning in that area. And I saw my opportunity. I saw the location where I wanted to build my first childcare center. And even then, people doubted me because all the schools were in South Hoboken. South Hoboken was the more mature area of the city. It's where all the schools were, where all the major transportation hubs were, where all the major restaurants were, where all the schools. South Hoboken was the hub of Hoboken. So when I saw North Hoboken, I saw a piece of Jersey City there. And that's where I anchor myself to pursue my dream. And that's what I want to tell you right now. In the midst of all these job layoffs, in the midst of all these changes, where you are may not be the place where your childcare center needs to be. Are you willing to look for the opportunities and make that transition, make that change? No, it's not easy, but how are you feeling about your dream? Do you believe in it? Are you willing to stick everything you have into pursuing it? Because if you do, you can be profitable. Before I opened my doors, I had over 600 people on the waiting list. I shut up all my critics. Everyone who said I had picked the wrong location were looking at me and wondering what did they miss? Why were they not thinking in the same way I was thinking? I never lived in Hoboken. Folks, I never lived in New Jersey before. I didn't have any family. I didn't have any friends. I didn't know the political landscape. And yet I had a conviction that I knew that it was going to work and it was going to work in that location. In the midst of the tragedy of 9/11, so many people were moving to New Jersey for more space, for more room, no different than when people moved when COVID occurred. A lot of people moved in the transition of COVID. They bought places, they relocated, they made new homes for themselves. And in that, new families and new children were born needing childcare services. Because let me tell you, handling an infant and a toddler is work. It's time consuming. And even if you're working from home, a 1-year-old and a 2-year-old does not understand mommy and daddy are working from home and they need time to handle those conferences and they need time to get on Zoom and they need time to work. And so most of the children that did not miss a day of school were my 2-year-olds. So imagine there is an opportunity for you. And in this episode, we're going to cover that. Where do you feel the opportunities are? In the midst of the layoffs, They are there waiting for you. Join the community, subscribe, visit, and follow, because together we're uncovering so much. I'm bringing to you my passion for real estate, my passion for business, and how I found the location that put me on the journey of opening 4 childcare programs, where at my first school, I had over 600 people on the waiting list and grew a multi-million-dollar business from doing exactly what I'm sharing with you right now. Why the best opportunities are where you think. The old strategy has been urban centers, chasing high-density city populations where real estate is expensive, zoning is extremely restrictive, and competition is saturated. When I went to North Hoboken, New Jersey, it was a breath of fresh air because there was no one in that area. I was the only school, the only center-based program in a commercial space in that part of town. There were no charter schools there. There were no childcare centers there. There was smaller schools that were in smaller buildings on the base of a brownstone building, but there was not a center-based program fully built out the way that I was constructing my school. And so the opportunity was there. But what was interesting, later I learned that the opportunity in New Jersey, the way that their licensing department worked, the way that their information of building the school worked, was a lot easier to follow than when I opened in New York. In New Jersey, I was able to build my school within 4 months, 3,742 square feet. It took me 1 year to build 1,200 square feet with only 2 toilets, where in New Jersey, I built in 4 months a total of 6 toilets, 4 classrooms, a staff room, a lounge, a common area. I didn't have that in New York City. And it took me a year to build less space in Hoboken, New Jersey than I did in New York. The new strategy, the outer ring. The strongest opportunities pattern is now fast-growing outer suburbs plus new industrial jobs and young working families. The demographic reality is families are moving 5 to 20 miles outside the city faster than childcare supply can catch up, creating massive childcare deserts. Massive childcare deserts, folks. This is not no small thing. You've heard it in the news. All these large data centers being built outside of the bigger cities. You hear about factories being built, chip factories like Micron, who's doing amazing in the stock market. You hear about companies like NVIDIA partnering with companies like Dell, bidding stacks. Stacks are what data centers computing system are putting their machines in. And so when you look at the chip industry, when you look at where the stock market is going, when you look at how manufacturing is happening in the United States, you got to think the jobs are there. Families are moving to those locations. Look at Ohio, where Joby is building these transit flights, taxi flights, where they're going to transport people from the city to the suburbs in order to reduce commuting time. Folks, this is not happening in the city. This is happening outside of the cities. And guess what is needed? Childcare centers, because they need a place for the children to be before they're able to go ahead and go to work and manage these data centers. Deliveries like Amazon, same-day deliveries like Walmart. They need childcare centers so their employees can work and deliver same day. This is real, and the need is greater now than ever before. So you need to get unstuck. You need to look at your dreams, your opportunity, where can you go, and start building the child care center of your dreams. From job loss to ownership, corporate layoffs are dominating the headlines. We all know that, right? But do not let the job loss go ahead and scare you. I don't want the job loss to just petrifying you into doing nothing. Some sectors that are traditional are shrinking. Of course, that I saw during 9/11. I saw that again during the 2008 market crash with Lehman Brothers. We saw a shift. of financial companies moving from New York to Texas, going to Houston. But guess what? The childcare centers weren't keeping up with this move. And so by you tuning into the sector changes and shifts may give you an opportunity to transition. Manufacturing is moving and suburban infrastructures are booming. This is your moment to leverage your talent, pivot from employee to owner, and fulfill a critical market need. Remember, we talked about the sweet spot, a group family daycare, where you can rent a home and build a child care center there and use that to leverage that information or that knowledge and that revenue, and then grow another home or open a center-based program. I have a personal story of a friend of mine whose daughter was here with her daughter and her husband and her young child. And then they had 2 young children under the age of 6. The cost of childcare was so expensive in this part of New Jersey that the husband, not only couldn't he find work, but the work that he found was less than the cost of childcare. She was getting her nursing license, and when she did, with the help of her mother, they made a strategic decision to move to Florida. The moment she moved to Florida, not only was she able to find a job with her experience and expertise and her knowledge, she was also able to find affordable childcare, and her husband was able to find a job working at nights. Together, they were able to support their family, move from a family friend's home with their dog into their own apartment, and now they're saving for their home. What keeps you stuck here? Wherever you are, what keeps you stuck? How can you unstuck yourself? Are you willing to do what other people don't do to get what other people don't have? That's what I tell myself. Are you willing to do what other people don't do to get what other people don't have? Are you willing to take 2 steps back now so you can leap forward? And that's what this conversation is about. Let's talk about Dallas-Fort Worth and what is happening there right now. The Dallas-Fort Worth outer suburbs, right now they have an explosion of 8.5 million people and this was recently in 2025 census. That's an 11% growth since 2020. 8.5 million people. And the children that are being born out of this explosion. The top target cities, the strongest growth in our outer edges are Salina, 24.6% growth. Fulshire, 21% growth. Princeton, 18% growth. Melissa, Anna, and Forney. The childcare angle, these areas are defined by new subdivisions, commuter families, and 2-income households. The infrastructure gap. Housing is being built rapidly, but the essential childcare infrastructure has not yet caught up to the demand. So imagine there is an explosion of families in these target cities, but yet the childcare centers are not there to meet the demand. You have the skill, you have the experience. What have you done to look at these target cities? Folks, I'm going to tell you right now, go to realtor.com, start looking at houses. How much do they cost to buy? How much do they cost to rent? What does the population look like? Go to census.gov. Start looking at what the census says about the cities. Take it a deep further. Go to realtor.gov, look at these cities, and then go to Google Maps. Find out where the hospitals are. But I'm going to share something else with you to make your life even easier. So stay tuned. Charlotte Metro and Fort Mill Corridor. There's a migration magnet is the Charlotte Metro and the Fort Mill Corridor. Now we're talking about North and South Carolina. So we went to Texas, now we're in Charlotte, and we're North and South Carolina. The migration magnet. Charlotte gained the most residents numerically among U.S. cities from 2024 to 2025. Charlotte gained the most residents in numbers. The Fort Mill surge. While Charlotte grew in sheer numbers, nearby Fort Mill, South Carolina grew even faster by percentages. The childcare angle. The corridor is defined by strong family migration combined with massive corporate and logistic growth. I have a girlfriend of mine and her husband that built a house in North Carolina. There is a strong push for families to need childcare center in those areas. There are amazing universities, there are great colleges, great research, there's great opportunities in various sectors, including government sectors, that are not yet being tapped for the supporting families. Where families come into these spaces, they're going to have needs, childcare needs. They're going to need a place for their children, schools. And so these are areas and spaces where you need to dig deeper and find out, how can you connect there? You can call the schools and find out if they have a waiting list. How long is their waiting list? And I'll help you identify the schools that you need to call. The logistic boom. The intersection of North and South Carolina is becoming a premier hub for corporate headquarters and logistics. The opportunity. Where corporate build logistic hubs, families follow. Where families follow, children is needed, and childcare is needed. So where corporations build logistic, guess what happens? Families are going to follow, right? And where families follow, what's going to happen? You're going to need childcare. You're going to need childcare. And so this is another part of the country where childcare is very much needed. What are you doing to position your dreams to take advantage of this opportunity and go from employee to ownership? Don't forget to subscribe, folks. This is a lot of gems I'm dropping here, and I want to make sure that you're part of this experience. From suburb to industry, what we've learned, the urban center strategy is saturated and expensive. If you want to go into the main cities, if you want to go into New York City, or you're going to go into the 5 boroughs like Chicago, those areas are saturated and they're very expensive. On top of that, remember, a lot of childcare owners are trying to retire and they're trying to transition. And if you have the qualification for those areas to build your childcare program, then you have the great opportunity to not only scale, grow, and expand your dream. What I learned when I was in New Jersey versus New York is that New Jersey had different requirements for me to run and operate a childcare center. At the time of opening my own childcare center in New Jersey, having an MBA was sufficient. In New York City, it was not. I needed to have a master's in education, specifically early childhood education. And I pursued that master's while in New Jersey during opening my second program. But I would not have needed that in New Jersey. I could have kept growing and expanding. I could have gone to other states where the minimum wage was lower. Yet the margin for me in childcare would have been the same. And I would have saved a lot in taxes and insurance, because the cost of taxes and insurance varies from state to state. So the opportunity there for me was great. Had I opened in New York first, I would not have opened in New Jersey. I would have felt that the requirement of New York City was so burdensome. The delay in construction was so expensive. The process of getting your staff clear took so long that I would have been discouraged from the very beginning. Having 2 successful childcare centers in New Jersey allowed me not only to perfect my business, it allowed me to perfect my philosophy, my direction, train my staff accordingly, and position myself to take on New York City with 2 schools behind me, real estate behind me, and the knowledge of a decade already under my belt. So that was important because I was new at the field when I entered the childcare business. The outer service like Dallas-Fort Worth and Fort Mill are experiencing explosive growth. Corporate layoffs present an opportunity to pivot into ownership. Housing is outpacing childcare infrastructure. And many of the developers don't understand the importance of building alongside a childcare center and how much that would help their development overall. When I was canvassing for a location for the childcare center, at the time I had a PowerPoint presentation. I was walking with a deck on hand. And with that deck on hand, I was asking different developers, would they be interested in letting me open a childcare center at their site? Many of them wanted me in their site, but the site was not attractive to me. I did not want to be in a basement. I did not want to be in a dark room. I did not want to be in the back of the building. I did not want to compromise a beautiful location for children, because I knew if I had the right location, if I built a location that was beautiful, both aesthetically and in location, parents would want to bring their children there. And who wouldn't? Who wouldn't want their children to have access to 18-foot ceilings overlooking the Hudson River, looking at the day passing by, watching ships go up and down the river, seeing families walking the sidewalk with their dogs, seeing trucks and food trucks and vendors every single day right in front of you. And even the police department was on horseback. So imagine the children's eyes when they saw a big horse come to the window and them being able to present themselves to it in a safe way. That was amazing. A beautiful location for children, a space built for children will attract families. So it's worth it to wait for the right location. So many of the developers saw my vision, but they weren't ready for me. So I had to keep looking. And that's how Hoboken presented itself to me. When you look at a location, don't get stuck with your vision of a place. Get stuck with your idea. And if you create and build a space for children, about children, parents will come. And that's how I ended up with 600 people on the waiting list. And for the next 5 to 7 years, I had a waiting list. And so that opportunity is important. The industrial advantage and the data solution. Knowing the state or city is only half the battle. How do you find the exact neighborhood with zero childcare supply? This is a soft launch. So this is a teaser. I created the childcare intelligence system for the last 6 months, and it's finally going live because I officially received my patent pending number. So it is currently under patent review. Very excited about that. But I'm sharing this with you because this was not my first app. Actually, I wasn't thinking of creating an app for this podcast, but I realized how difficult it is to find information in our industry. Next episode, we're going to talk about the solution. How do you find the right location? In the industrial advantage and data solution, knowing the state or city is only half the battle. How do you find the exact neighborhood with zero childcare supply? And I'm going to provide for you the opportunity on our next episode next Sunday to be able to have the tools that you need to go deeper into these neighborhoods and find out the childcare centers that are there and where they're not, which is the most important part, and how you can take advantage of that opportunity. From suburbs to industry. What we discovered is that there are booms happening in our country. There are childcare centers. There are families looking for you right now to come to them and build that childcare center that you've been holding on to all this time. Do not wait to get there. Get yourself unstuck. There is an opportunity to build the childcare of your dream if you only start looking under the cover. Don't let the news petrify you into your position. Use that information to say, what do I have right now and where can I build? You're going to say to me, well, Ms. Zuleika, I'm working a full-time job. I cannot just take off and go to Texas. I cannot just take off and go to North Carolina. But what can you do in the state that you're in? If there's no growth in the state that you're in, is there growth in an adjacent state? Do you have personal days? Do you have vacation days? I use all my personal days and vacation days just on my business idea, just scouting locations. I will combine vacation with scouting to see what was there and how I could take advantage of that opportunity. That is what you need to do. And you can get unstuck and you can build there. It's going to be difficult at first, but you got to do what other people don't do to get what other people don't have. You got to get unstuck. And sometimes it's so much easier to be comfortable and just roll over to the next block and open the next childcare center. But sometimes that's not where the opportunity is or where the growth is. I had to commute all the way from Long Island, cross Manhattan to New Jersey, just so I can find the right location for me. And then in the midst of all of that, I also experienced Sandy. After 2008, another catastrophe happened. And then I had to drive all the way through Hoboken, New Jersey, through Staten Island, to go through a bridge to go to Brooklyn, where I was then living. It was uncomfortable, but I made a point to still come to Hoboken, to come to the town meetings, to get involved with the Hoboken Museum, to get involved with events taking place. It was worth it. It was worth it, but it took some sacrifice. You don't retire at 50 by being comfortable. You retire at 50 by doing what other people don't do to get what other people don't have. I missed birthdays. I missed vacations, but I made it up along the way. I did carve out time to enjoy life, but I knew that if I wanted to have the life that I have now, I had to plant those seeds then. You can plant those seeds too. On our next episode, we're going to talk about the industrial advantage and the data solution. How do we dig deeper into knowing the state and city is only half the battle? Now, how do you find the exact neighborhood with zero childcare supply? And in part 2, I will reveal the exact tool that I use to pinpoint these opportunities. And I have an exclusive gift for you. When you use these tools, I'm going to give free access to the first 50 action takers because I want you to pursue your dream. You can do this. You can find the right location. You can get there. Don't wait for tomorrow. Take small steps today. Are you ready to decode your next move? My name is Zuleika Hines, your host, Decoding the Childcare Business, and I cannot wait to meet you. Thank you for joining me. And please don't forget to subscribe and like. I'm so excited that you're here.